Your Iowa Hawkeyes triumphant in their final tune-up before Big Ten play commences a week from yesterday. Yes, Northwestern coming to town. Chris Collins' bunch will be in Iowa City next Tuesday evening for a battle against the Hawkeyes in Iowa's Big Ten opener. South Carolina Upstate coming to town. And on paper, this was one of the worst teams in all of Division I. That's what Ken Palm says. But what did we learn from Iowa's thrashing and the highest point total of Iowa's young season? Well, we'll talk about it in just a second. But as we do each and every time we talk men's hoops during our postgame coverage, this season we want to thank our good friend Brad Van Meter and his team down at State Farm. Call Brad and get a quote on insurance. You can call him by calling 515-256-6480. You can also visit his office down on Fleur Drive or visit his website. It's www.bradvanmeter.com. That's www.bradvanmeter.com, or call him at 515-256-6480 for a great quote as you approach the new calendar year and look to save money with great insurance coverage. State Farm and Brad Van Meter in Des Moines. So Iowa's 110-77 victory coming on the heels of Iowa's first loss of the season down against Utah State out in Kansas City at the Sprint Center. I guess it's the T-Mobile Center now. But a disappointing effort down there. We talked with Coach Gary Close. We talked with Fran after that game. Was able to be there for media coverage. And it was an opportunity to kind of see this team up in close and personal and see some of the flaws that a team that I believe constructed the way it is constructed, we could see those types of flaws shine through at times. What Fran's job is now to do here in the coming months is to figure out a way to kind of hide those flaws. And one of those flaws, I believe, to be lack of athleticism. Certainly against USC Upstate, they were able to do that. I will give them credit for one thing. In that Utah State game, I thought Iowa's half-court defense was pretty good. The problem is they're not getting rebounds. And that was probably my biggest criticism after the game. Why is Seydou Traore not playing more? I know Fran got pretty upset with Seydou late in that Utah State game, and his minutes dwindled as that game went on. Meanwhile, Ladji Dembele, a 260-pound, 6'8", 4/5, only averaging a few rebounds per game. That'd be one of my things to challenge Ladji and Fran on. Like, hey, maybe it's time to get a guy who averaged 8 boards a game at Manhattan last year as a freshman more time in the lineup. The problem is what happened Tuesday night. Seydou Traore goes down with a pretty serious ankle sprain, and it was shown on the Big Ten Network broadcast. The good news is, from my perspective, and I'm no doctor, but the ankle turned in as opposed to out. Usually that's a good sign. I think for all of us who have played sports or played basketball, certainly you've probably had a bad sprain like that. You know, it'll swell up, and it just depends on how serious the sprain was. But Fran did call it a bad sprain. That's a quote from Fran McCaffrey after the game. Traore had to be helped off the floor. And let's not mince words. Seydou Traore's their most athletic player, and he's one of only a couple really good athletes. Frankly, Seydou is number 1, Drew Thelwell's number 2, and I don't know who number 3 is. I mean, maybe it's just Owen Freeman. I mean, if we're talking about pure athleticism, ability to jump, get up for rebounds, and, you know, be able to get by somebody with quickness, speed, it's Seydou, Drew, and then I don't know after that. So, boy, Drew's availability now becomes of utmost importance. Even though Seydou and Drew play very different positions, I just think Thelwell's athletic ability and speed, quickness, and also his experience can be so big as we start Big Ten play. So his health is of utmost importance. And we also saw a really nice performance out of Brock Harding, his second really solid performance in a row. He was really the only guy in the second half against Utah State to be able to make shots. And, you know, I wondered after the game, was it in part did Iowa struggle because they were playing in a big gym? And I thought Fran took the high road when I asked him that question post-game. They play in a lot of big gyms, and that's not an excuse, shouldn't be an excuse. But Payton Sandfort struggled mightily, shot 1 of 13 from 3. And after that game against the Aggies, he was quoted telling a couple different media people, including a good friend of ours, Elliot Clough of Hawkeye Beacon, that he'd been dealing with some wrist problems. Actually came to that media availability with some ice on his wrist post-game. And so the question was, after that interview, after that press conference, like, why is he playing if his wrist is in that bad a shape? And he even told the media that he's not able to do a ton in life right now because of the wrist. So I thought this USC Upstate game might be an opportunity for Fran McCaffrey to rest Payton Sandfort. That's not what happened. Payton plays, and he plays a pretty full allotment of minutes given the circumstances. I mean, nobody in the starting lineup played over, 30 minutes? Nobody played over 29 minutes. In fact, Brock Harding ended up with 29 minutes for the game. Payton Sandfort played 22, did not shoot nearly as many threes, shot just 1 3, was 2 of 7 from the field, shot just 1 3. Here's my big concern. We all know that Payton is challenged a little bit with vertical quickness, staying in front of people defensively. But if he's not making threes and he's not giving you rebounds, boy, I just don't know. And he just got 3 rebounds yesterday. Meanwhile, Iowa got dominated on the glass against Utah State, broke even against USC Upstate. Now, I'm not trying to sound like negative Nancy Debbie Downer, but I'm just calling a spade a spade. This is a team that Iowa should have beaten by 30, 40 points. They did. Kudos to them. Brock Harding had a really solid performance, as did a few other guys you see scrolling across the bottom of the screen. But my concerns with Payton Sandfort's struggles continue. But I would anticipate, I would at least deduce by the fact that he played on Tuesday night, that he's back healthy, that the wrist is back healthy and he's good to go 100%. Because if he's not, I can't imagine that rest wouldn't assist that wrist if it was still under the weather. Then why play him against USC Upstate a week out from Iowa's first Big Ten contest? But to me, it was apparent against an overmatched group of Spartans that Sandfort, Payton made a concerted effort. He was making a concerted effort not to shoot as much, not to be as trigger happy from outside. And he deferred to other guys. I thought Josh Dix played really well. It's good to see him. He's also been dealing with, I believe, a wrist injury. He's coming off an injury. He hadn't looked like himself until maybe last night. Again, the opponent helped, but maybe that gets him back in the groove. He was 5 of 7, 14 points, and 7 rebounds. Actually led all rebounders for Iowa with 7 on the glass, along with 3 assists, no turnovers. Josh looked a little bit more like himself on Tuesday night. I think that's really a positive thing. I mentioned Brock Harding with 20 points, 10 assists, a double-double for him, 4 steals, 9 of 13, very efficient from the field, made a couple of threes, and added 3 rebounds against a Division I team, certainly not a high-tier Division I team, but a Division I team nonetheless. My concerns with Brock and his size, lack of athleticism, defensive struggles are going to remain the same until he proves it to me otherwise against Big Ten competition. And he was pretty good against Utah State in the second half. Defensively, no, not. I mean, I don't know that I've seen some great performance from Brock ever on that side of the floor. And I don't know what type of ceiling he has on the defensive end, but certainly if he's giving you this type of offensive production, it makes up for the maybe the lack thereof on the other end of the floor. But I still need to see it offensively from Brock Harding against a Big Ten team, and consistently, not just one night like against Utah State the other night. We saw a really nice performance out of his backup, Drew Thelwell. He was solid. Got his 100th win as a Division I player, had 15 points, 6 of 9 from the field, made a couple of free throws, 4 steals, 3 assists, no turnovers. Very efficient. Iowa, just 7 turnovers on the night. Phenomenal number, obviously. And then Riley Mulvey, the other guy in double figures, had 11 points, 4 of 4 off the bench, 3 rebounds. Fran mentioned post-game that he's been dealing with some health issues here and there, but if he's healthy, Fran feels comfortable going to him, although Fran says he's comfortable going to all 13 guys. I can't imagine that's the truth. Maybe against USC Upstate, he's comfortable going to Carter Kingsbury and Chris Taggio, but I seriously doubt Fran's going to do that ever in Big Ten play unless injuries call for it. Now, the other injury concern here is Evan Bronze is out, which hurts you in the front court, and Cooper Koch, another front court guy, is out right now. Whether or not either one of those guys' situations are long-term is yet to be seen, but how long is Seydou Traore going to be out? I seriously doubt he'll be back in a week. You never know with sprains. They can linger. They can heal relatively quickly. He's going to have the best therapy out there to get that ankle back to full speed. But boy, kind of an unfortunate time to be starting Big Ten play. You hope that week helps. But Drew Thelwell, his athleticism, I keep talking about it, and defensive prowess, so important. And I continue to call upon Ladji Dembele, another difficult night for him offensively, 2 of 7 from the field. And he's not a guy who's going to give you a ton from outside. He did make 1 3 on Tuesday night, but just 5 points, 2 assists, 1 turnover, 2 rebounds in just under 18 minutes of play. Just need to see more activity inside, in my opinion. Again, Iowa breaking even on the glass. You got to be able to dominate a team like USC Upstate on the glass. Now, Iowa did clean it up at the free throw line. They struggled the other night mightily against Utah State at the strike. They were 12 of 15, struggled from 3 against Utah State. They bounced back there, shot 26 times against Utah State, shot 26 times against Upstate last night, but they made 12 on Tuesday night as opposed to a measly 5 against the Aggies down in KC. So that is positive. And those are a couple of things that you just have to do well, especially if you're going to consistently give up numbers on the glass. And I just think, to be quite frank, there is some movement possible, I think, upwards as it relates to rebounding numbers for Iowa as this season progresses, namely getting Seydou Traore back, Ladji Dembele rebounding better, you hope, Payton Sandfort rebounding the ball better, but this is still going to be a below average team on the glass. I just think we have to accept that. So how do you account for that? You got to shoot free throws well. They got to be lights out from the 3-point line, especially against the best teams, and can't turn the ball over. And so those are all things that were cleaned up on Tuesday evening. That's positive. Hawkeyes dominating in the paint, winning with bench points, fast break points. Finally got in the fast break, 26 fast break points. Still not a ton with a $110 total in the game. Iowa also converting 31 points off of USC Upstate turnover. So all very positive. Certainly Brock Harding would deserve player of the game if we had one officially here on the show. But I just thought all 4 of those guys were really good. And it was just good to see Josh Jicks get back. But boy, that Seydou injury does hurt them. So we'll monitor that. We'll hopefully get an update on Seydou here in the coming days. But those are my 2 cents on the game from Tuesday night. Tell me what you thought of the game in the comment section below. Stay tuned. We got plenty of news, football news. And of course, we're counting down the hours now till Iowa's Black Friday contest against Nebraska. We'll also have post-game coverage after the women's trip to Cancun Thursday and Friday, that pair of games down there in Mexico. So we'll talk about that. So much coming. Be sure you leave a like, subscribe right here from the Hawkeye of the Storm, and we'll talk to you very soon.